Hi, I'm Steve Chlebeck with Force America. We're going to be looking at the LCD screen and then also be looking at the interface module to control it. So I'm going to start off by going to the far right switch, and it's off now, and you'll see the screen just says Force America. I'm going to activate the switch, and the screen's going to come up with a bunch of information on it. Salt at 150 pounds, standby, clear jam, auger reverse, granule manual, granule pre-wet. Right here we have our little navigation stick that changes the menu, and then we have items up here that we can turn on and off. So to get started, you basically have to turn this switch on, because with the switch off, it's a blank screen. You turn this switch on, and the screen comes up, and you're ready to go. In this screen right here is the screen you would want to be in to operate your spreader. So right now you can see granules highlighted. And if I was going to take it off standby, we'd be ready to spread. And you can see the colors green. We also have the color green on our auger rate, and we have blue here for our spinner rate. So if I adjust this spinner, you can see I'm adjusting this bar scale with blue, and that's the same color as the blue knob. So if I was going to go out and spread material right now, I would reach over and take my finger on the auger knob and push it down, and now you'll see it says 0 actual pounds per mile, and I'm set at 150. So if I wanted to change the rate, I take the same green knob and I turn it clockwise, right? So the 150, it's 150, and it goes 50-pound increments, so 200, and we bring it up to 650 pounds of material per single lane mile. And I can adjust it on the fly. I can shut it on and off as I go. So that standby is off, this is on. And then this 0 is 0 because we're not moving. So if we were physically moving the truck right now, this number here would try to reach our target, which is 150. So it'd be bouncing back like 150, 151, 148, trying to keep up with your speed. So, and regardless of engine speed going down the road, its goal in life is to stick with whatever your target number, whether it's 150 or 200 or 250, it would try to keep up to that. Your spinner basically is, you adjust your spinner for your spread rate, which you're looking in the mirror and seeing how far you're spreading. This is off, that's 1, 2, 3, and it goes up to 10. Both of these knobs do not have stops. They got detents, but they could just be continued to move. So once you max them out, they're maxed out. So that's how you basically turn it on and off. The blue knob also, besides adjusting the spinner, it gives me my blast rate. So if I was going to press the blue knob down, you'll see that the screen changed to blast 600 pounds per single lane mile, and it's on a timer. So eventually here it's going to time off, and it's going to say back to 250. Now, we got a question mark with a feedback error that came up here. And basically, that came up because we're not moving. So it doesn't have a sensor, so it pulled the air, and then it went to open, which means that it'd be like you lost your sensor. You cut it, and it went to open loop, which means you can continue your route. It's still going to spread. You just lost your auger sensor. So, and the only reason it did that is because this is a demo, and we're not actually going down the road spreading material. So I'm going to put it back in standby. So the two knobs basically are auger rate, spinner, okay, and then dual purpose, on and off, right? On and off, and then blast. So I'm going to shut this off so I can get rid of that question mark and turn it back on. So now when I go back off standby, we're back to the actual pounds. Okay, so let's talk about these different items on this screen here. Now remember, this is not a touch screen, so we don't want you touching. Everything is done down here on the interface module. So it's pretty ergonomics. I can move my hand around and change things. So if I wanted to activate, let's start over here. If I wanted to activate pre-wet, right now I'm just doing salt, but if I want to put pre-wet, I just basically go down to the bottom square, and now I've acted pre-wet. And pre-wet now is enabled, and it's green, just like your granule. So now I'm putting out 350 pounds of material per lane mile, plus I'm also putting down pre-wet. Now, in your case, pre-wet is gravity, So I'm not controlling the rate, it's just gravity that's coming out. But the beauty of it is it's tied through our spreader. So when you're in the automatic mode, like I am now, and I've got them both running, both off standby, and I'm putting out both material, when you stop, the auger and spinner stop and your liquid stop. When you take off, they both take off together. Okay, so you don't have to remember to shut them off in the automatic mode. So let's say it's too cold and I'm not going to put pre-wet out, so I just deactivate pre-wet by pushing the square down. And now if it's white, it's not enabled. If it's green, it's enabled. So right now I'm in granule. You also have granule manual on the screen, and basically that's true manual mode. So I'm gonna activate. That's a diamond here. I'm gonna push that down, and now you've noticed that it turned green. But look what happened here. It went away from pounds per lane mile and it went to a percentage. So if I move my knob now, I'm doing a percentage of the auger RPM. So right now I'm wide open. I'm 100% of auger and I'm dumping out a lot of material, right? Or I'm 50% of auger rate, but I'm dumping out a lot of material. The disadvantage of manual mode is when I stop, it's going to keep putting out liquid, and if the liquid's enabled and granule, it's going to keep putting out unless I reach over and shut it off, right? The only time we want you in manual is if for some reason you lost your ground speed speedometer setting. That's the only reason to be in manual. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to control the salt usage. And when it's in manual mode, it's not tabulating how much salt you're using per trip. So if you want to keep track of the salt and the granule you're using per storm, you can't do that in manual mode. So we don't want to use manual unless it's an emergency. So I'm going to shut manual off, and you notice now it went back to my rate of 350 pounds. If I put manual on, it goes back to a percentage only of the auger. So, okay, let's talk about clear jam. Clear jam is basically almost like auger reverse. If I have dual spinners on the truck, left spinner and right spinner, and I have something jammed up in the auger, and if I'm turning it left, if I hit clear jam, basically what it does, it reverses the auger as long as I'm holding it. As long as I'm holding it, it reverses the auger. So that's called clear jam. Underneath there, it's called auger reverse. So obviously, if right now the auger's turning towards the driver's side and I'm running the left-hand spinner, correct? So if I want to run the right-hand spinner, all I'm going to do is hit auger reverse. It activated auger reverse, it's green. So now I'm going to go auger reverse. It brings the auger to the passenger side and it turns on the right spinner. So, and it also will activate your liquid. So the liquid will also switch from left to right also. So basically that's what's on this first screen. And you notice that it says GRAN. That's just an abbreviation for granule. That's the screen as an operator you're going to be in the very most when you're out spreading material. I'm going to take the navigation stick here and I'm going to move it left to right. And right now it says tow plow. Because this truck is set up as a tow plow, I would be in the tow plow mode. If I move it again, now it comes into it just says menu here, and it brought up some other items. It's brought up implements, brought up unload, it brought up data, calibration, and materials. Okay, well, let's talk about that. Not every truck's going to have implements. The word implement might be on here, but nothing's going to be on there. In this truck, it's a tow plow. So if I go over to the implements and hit implements, it's going to change the screenshot and it's going to say truck none. But if I go down, if I scroll down with my navigation stick to tow plow and I activate tow plow, it says it's disabled. Well, it's disabled in the calibration mode, so it won't do anything. Okay. If this was a tow plow hooked up, we'd enable that, and then you would have the tow plow come up on the screen. So that's what implements mean. And we can show you that when we go into calibration and we enable tow plow. Unload mode is what we call stationary unload. So if I'm done with my route and I come back and I back up to the salt pile and I want to run it and unload the trough and get out of my truck, I could use unload mode and I wouldn't need manual even activated then. So I'm going to show you how to go into unload mode. I go to the diamond. These mimic diamonds and squares and circles, and I activate unload. It changes the screen and it says granule unload at 0%. Well, I always tell people when it's gray, then I go to my gray navigation stick. So I'm going to press the gray navigation stick down, and it's going to change the screenshot. Now it's going to say 000 percentage. What that's telling you, it's the percentage of the auger. Well, and it says output is off, and it says auger RPM is 0, and it's got this green and this blue again. Well, those green and the blue mimic the same knobs I have down here. One's auger, one's spinner. So it says run output. Well, if I press the green down, it's going to say running. Well, it's not going to run because I'm at 0%. So I want it wide open. So I'm going to bring it to 100%. And now what would happen is the auger would be running at 100%. I'm in a stationary mode. I could turn my spinner up, let's say to 30%. I could get out of the truck and I could check, make sure everything's okay, and I could get back in the truck. The only thing I can't do is I can move the vehicle forward a little bit if I'm piling up back there, but it will not let me drive the vehicle over 5 miles an hour. If I drive the vehicle over 5 miles an hour, it'll default me back to closed loop spread control. So when I'm done, I basically shut it off, right? The output is off, the auger stops turning, the spinner stops turning. Now I want to get out of the screen. So I take the navigation stick and I push it down, and then I always tell people, if you bring the navigation back towards the driver, you get back to your screen that you were at. So that's the unload mode. So the next mode is data. Data is a menu that lets you actually look at what you put out. So if I go to data mode, it says current totals, season totals, and air log. So if I wanted to look at my current totals that I put out for the storm, I could view it on the screen. I could export it to a USB thumb drive, or I could clear the totals. So if I viewed it, I press it down again. I'd press it down again, the navigation stick, and it generates a report. And there's the report. It'll tell me the version of software that's in my spreader control. It'll tell me the vehicle truck number, 212-580, the date and the time when it was cleared last. And if I scroll up with my navigation stick, it'll tell me how much weight I applied, how many miles I drove, was I in closed loop, was I in open loop, or was I in manual mode? And then all the different materials that I've got turned on, it'll give me too. Okay? And then you can download that if you want. So now to get back out of there, basically I just scroll to the left, and then I could do a detailed report that's just a little more detailed, and I could clear my current totals. If I wanted to clear my current totals, because I'm going to go fight another storm, it's going to say clear current totals, yes or no. And you can see on the screen, I've got the same yes or no. I reach down and say, yeah, I want to clear them. So it says current data totals cleared. Press the navigation stick to continue. Now I'm cleared it. Now I get back out of there, and I'm out. So let's talk about material then. I want to change my material. Right now I've got salt on the screen, but let's say that I'm not going to use salt. My patrol supervisor said use a different material. So I'm going to go into material mode. I'm going to find where it says material. I'm going to press the soft keypad down. In this case, it's a square. I press it down, it says salt. It says granule material salt. I'm going to press the gray navigation stick down again, and it gives me 5 different choices: salt, sand, 50-50, S-Cal, and Mag chloride cal. Okay, so let's say I want to put 50-50 down. I highlight 50-50 in green. I press the navigation stick down, and now I bring the navigation stick towards me. And notice now that it has changed from salt to a 50-50 mix. And a lot of times I could change, now the rate has changed too. Before it was 150 to 650 pound increments. Now it's 200 pounds, the lowest, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,000, up to 1,100 pounds of material. So they're letting you put out a lot more material with the 50-50 mix, which makes sense because you don't have as much salt. Let's see what blast is set at. So I'm at 400. I'm going to reach over and hit the blue knob and push it down. And blast is set at 1,100. And it's still on a timer. And remember, if I wanted to kill the blast, I just hit the blast button again and it stops the blast. I don't need to let it run through its 6-second cycle or whatever the blast is set at for timing. So I'll run through that again on the material. So I'm going to press material down. And let's say I want to go back to salt. I'm in the gray navigation stick. I press that down again. This time I'm going to go back up to salt. It's green, it's enabled. I press the navigation stick down, I press the navigation stick to the left, and now I'm back to salt on the menu. So those are your choices for different materials. So let's see what else is on this menu stick here, on this navigation stick. Backlighting. We could change the intensity of the light on the screen. So if I move this down, you can see the screen that's almost off if it glares at you at night. And then I can bring it back up and bring the lighting back up. Okay. And if I want to get back out of there, I just press I move the navigation stick left or right. So back to my screen where I originally was going to start from, which is granule. And that's the screen that you're going to be in when you're spreading material. So battery voltage and speed. The speed would be the speed of your truck. So if I'm driving at 20 miles an hour, I would expect to see 20 miles an hour up on here. Now, as a driver, you can go up there and you can change things. Now this 0 PSI, really what that is my scraper down pressure. So if I was going to activate my scraper down, it would really show hydraulic pressure on the gauge of my down force of the scraper. And as you're driving down the highway, you can keep an eye on that scraper pressure, and if it's decaying, you can just bump it down again and check that. So we've gotten rid of the hydraulics in the cab. We have no more high pressure hoses in the cab. It's all done electronically, which is much safer. So auger RPM, you know, if I'm looking at auger RPM and I'm turning at 250 pounds, this should say an RPM, whatever it takes to get 250 pounds in a single lane mile, regardless of my engine speed. I know it could be 20 RPM, could be 10 RPM. But that'll change as you change your rate, right? Then this RPM will change. It's basically another tool for the mechanics to see if you lost RPM. Pre-wet, you probably won't use that a lot. In fact, if it was me, I would just get rid of pre-wet because it doesn't mean a lot. It's either on or off. I don't think you need 12 volts. You've got a voltmeter in a truck, so you can get rid of that. Maybe you don't want speed. You can get rid of that. So you could turn things on if you want. Maybe you say, you know what, this confuses me, everything. I'm gonna get everything off of there. So now I've got nothing up there. So as an operator, you have the option to go up there and turn things on or off. Basically is what you can do. And mechanics will use this for troubleshooting also. It shows the different voltage going down to the auger, the spinner, and pre-wet. So that on the operation part, that's really pretty simple. I mean, that's basic how we do it. On this top toolbar up here, eventually you might have a warning symbol up here for body up, low oil, that type of stuff in the future. You have this little symbol right here that looks like a little, I don't know, satellite. What that tells me is that your AVL system is now connected through our spreader control, which means that as you're putting out material, it's feeding that information into your AVL system, so they know, okay, exactly how much material you're putting down also, and they should be able to check and see if the auger's set at a certain rate or spinner. So if you ever see a red line through that little symbol, it means that you've lost your connectivity of the road watch system and your AVL system to our spreader. It's still tracking the truck, but it's just not giving you spreader information is all that means. And then we basically give you date and time on the header. So if I reach up and I shut this off in the summertime mode, basically you wouldn't even need that on if you're just hauling materials. So the only time you really need that on is if we're spreading materials in the wintertime. So, and then I'm back, it'll always go back to the screen you were at. So if I happen to be in this unload screen and I shut the main menu off and I turn it back on, I would believe that it would go right back to that screen. So if you want to keep it simple, just leave it in this screen and you could shut it on and off in summer use and turn it back on. So I'm going to just run through again how simple it is to operate. So right now I'm in standby mode and the truck is running. And if I was driving down the road, the auger and spinner would not be turning because I'm in standby. I reach down to the green knob, I shut it off, or turn it on, I should say, and now it went from standby to actual. It'll default here to feedback because I'm not moving. So if I want to shut it off again, I just turn the standby off. Okay. I want to put liquid, I reach down, I turn the liquid on, it activates, green, comes up, pre-wet, liquid, it just names it, and it says standby. Now if I hit this button again, they both come on because the granule has to work with the pre-wet. So simple as that. If I wanted to do auger reverse, I can do that on the fly. We've got built-in timer in there so it doesn't jam that auger, so it's a little hesitation, but I hit auger reverse and now I'm doing right-hand discharge, right-hand spinner. So if I shut the truck ignition off, you'll notice that this will go into a mode. It'll say dash key loss detected. The dash key signal has been deactivated. The system will shut down in 4 or 5 seconds. Press the navigation to shut it down sooner. So it's natural for this to do this, and it'll just shut down. And eventually the green will turn to a red LED, and it'll the system will shut it off. It's powered off. So basically it's powered off. We still got these lights. These will shut off eventually after the timer goes off. I always tell operators it's a good time in the morning, just turn your ignition key on, and you can go out and do your pre-check of your truck. You don't have to even start it, and by the time you come back and start it, the screen will be up and you'll be ready to run. So it's kind of a good way of doing it. Otherwise, I believe it's like 1 minute and 20 seconds to go through its boot up cycle. Now the LED has turned green, so we know we're making some progress here. Okay, I heard a solenoid click, and now we're ready. All the legends in the back here have turned green for the joysticks, and we're ready to go. If I turn the far right switch that says spreader on to the on position, we're ready to spread material. So hopefully that was helpful for you. If you have any questions, you can definitely contact Force America. Thank you.